Hello there, welcome back to my channel. Today is Monday, March 2nd. It's a new month and I figured this was the perfect time to bring you along with me. We're gonna chat about the weekend because I had a really good one and just look at the day as well as the week ahead and the month ahead and kind of talk about the things that I do to just set myself up for success and some of those habits that I like to instill at the start of a new month. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Okay, let's start with all of this stuff that I brought in because I feel like it was a lot today. Also, there is a wobble stool like right up next to me. First, we have cookies. I feel like more times than not, especially on a Monday, I'm coming into school with cookies.
But gather around, peeps, I tell you the truth. Nothing beats the cookie season, that's the truth.
But these are for a specific reason. So as a staff, we celebrate birthdays seasonally. So we'll celebrate all of the fall birthdays, all of the winter birthdays, and today is the celebration for the spring birthdays. From there, our social committee kind of divides up the staff members and puts certain groups of people in charge of each of those. So 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade is in charge of the spring birthdays. So we had a Google Doc where we each signed up to bring something, and I actually love that they're doing this on a Monday. That way I could spend my weekend baking. So I prepared in, theme of spring, some lemon white chocolate chip cookies. I made these over the weekend. I use the exact same base for pretty much all of my cookie recipes, like the flour, the sugar, the butter, all of that stays the same, the eggs, and then from there, I just change up what is added depending on the cookie that I'm making. If it's a chocolate-based cookie, I'm gonna add cocoa powder. These were lemon cookies, so I added in lemon zest and then white chocolate chips, and it just kind of changes depending on what I am making. But I have brought these in as well as a tray to display them on. I actually got this tray last year because we were in charge of spring birthdays, and I think I made lemon cookies last year as well, although these are better because I've improved my baking skills in the past year. But I was able to I had this out in my garage, washed it, brought that in. So during my specials time, I will go down and set these up in the lounge. We just have a big table where we put everything. And I always like to include the ingredients. That way, if anyone has allergies, they know. But I just type this up on Canva, list out the ingredients, and have it as a little table tent that I will put out with those. Now, in that little bag where I carried in the ingredients, I have bonus cookies because I could not fit my recipe. It makes 2.5 dozen, so I had 30 cookies, but I couldn't fit them all in the holder, so I had cookies off to the side in a bag, not important. But I've also started on Mondays, or whatever the first day of the week that we have school is, bringing in a bag with all of my beverages, which sounds ridiculous, but hear me out. I've shared recently that I have changed my meal prep, and so now because my lunchbox is full with my cottage cheese and raspberries and my yogurt and blueberries, and then my lunch, which is like broccoli and chicken, I could fit, but it's a tight squeeze. My protein shake, and then I usually have an energy drink each day, okay? Don't judge me. But I've started, rather than bringing those in each day, I pack the broccoli and chicken, the yogurt, and the cottage cheese each day. Like the night before, I put it in my lunchbox, put the whole lunchbox in the fridge, so all I have to do in the morning is grab it. But I've started at the beginning of the week bringing in all of my protein shakes. Now I actually had one from last week left over that I did not drink that's already in the fridge. So I bring those in with me. And then whatever energy drinks I'm gonna have, I pack those in here as well. I just kind of keep them off to the side because they don't have to be refrigerated. But before I leave each day, I put one of each in my fridge so that it gets cold for the next day. So that's just kind of been a little habit that I've started doing, and I feel like it's made my life much easier. And I love that now the rest of the week, I don't have to worry about my protein shakes, don't have to worry about my energy drinks, they're already here. And I'm just gonna kind of stash this back behind my backpack and I'm ready to go. All right, let's do a little weekend recap because for me, I feel like this weekend was my idea of, I won't say a perfect weekend, but a satisfactory weekend, if you will. On Saturday, I sleep in most Saturdays. I'm tired from the week, and that's become part of a routine. But once I got up on Saturday, I went to a student's game, which I absolutely love. I knew this game was coming up. It was a big championship game, and the student had told me about it a week ago, but I didn't get the information from the family until the night before, and they were like, no pressure if you can't come, we really dropped the ball with sending this to you. But I was able to make it work, and I kind of surprised them. I didn't confirm that I was going. I just showed up, and the student was so excited. And I always bring something with me. So if I'm going to a student's performance, I'll bring flowers to give them. Or in this case, if it's a sporting event, I usually bring them a Gatorade and their favorite fruit. And I kind of ask them in advance, what flavor of Gatorade do you like? What's your favorite fruit, etc. And I bring that with me, and it's just, I don't know, I love it. So that was Saturday during the day, went to the gym afterward. Again, that's part of our typical weekend routine. I have my longest training sessions on Saturday and Sunday. Then Saturday night, Billy and I did what I'm gonna call parallel hobbying, for lack of better words. I don't know if this is an actual thing or if there's another term for it. I don't know, it just makes sense in my head to call it parallel hobbying. But essentially, Billy and I both have new hobbies that we're trying to take up this year. And I told him, hey, let's both sit down at the kitchen table, we'll put on some music, and we'll each do our own hobbies, but next to each other. So we're doing different things, but it's still that quality time together, and we can still kind of chit chat. And that's what we did. So Billy has decided he wants to take on Lego architecture sets. So he said he feels less bad about doing them as an adult if it's building something that actually matters rather than the Legos he played with as a kid. But Lego has these different sets of landmarks and different skylines, and so Billy's idea is to build those for all the places that we've been. They don't have them for all the places that we've been, but we're hoping at some point they will create them. In the meantime, he will just make the ones of the places that we have been thus far that they do have sets for. So he decided to start with the very first place we traveled together internationally, which was London. So he got the London skyline, and he worked on building that while I worked on my junk journaling. And I have mentioned that I wanted to start junk journaling as a potential hobby because my word of the year, I pick a word every year. For 2026, my word is connect, and that can mean a lot of different things. And one of the things I wanted to connect with was some kind of a new hobby. That's an overarching goal for the year. And I had shared previously that I wanted to start junk journaling. Well, in true Michelle fashion, I love the idea of it, but had not actually done it because I'm a perfectionist, and I was really struggling with just getting started because I felt like it had to be perfect from the get-go. Even though I knew that that wouldn't be the case, it kind of put me in this paralysis where I hadn't started doing it. I had the supplies, I had all of the receipts and things that I kept from our trip to Egypt, and I just hadn't actually put it into the junk journal. So that's what I worked on while Billy did his Legos. And I actually really like how it came out. Again, it's not perfect, and I have to let go of that because it's not meant to be perfect. I have to remind myself that it's not meant to be perfect.
The Schrutes have a word for when everything in a man's life comes together perfectly. Perfektenschlag.
And overall, though, it felt really good. I did a 2-page spread of Cairo, and then I did a page for Luxor, and then I did a page for Istanbul. We were only there for less than 24 hours, so there's not a whole lot for that page. But regardless, my idea is throughout the year, just dedicating a page. It doesn't even have to be travel, it can be other events and things, but it felt good to actually take action and get it done. And Billy and I just had fun doing that together. So that was a great Saturday night. And then I also prep the cookie dough on Saturday because I freeze my cookie dough and then I cook it directly from frozen. So Sunday was a day of meal prep and laundry, setting myself up for success for the week. And when I say meal prep, I meal prep my lunches. So right now in my fridge at home, I have all of my containers of broccoli and chicken. I meal prep my cottage cheese and my yogurts to take. I also prep my creamies that I use for the week. That's my little dessert each night. but I also prep things for dinner. So last night, it actually turned out amazing. We had, I called it like a strawberry summer salad, but it was basically lettuce and strawberries and feta cheese and chicken and some other veggies like cucumber, and I did a poppy seed dressing, and it was delicious. But I had prepped a lot of that earlier in the day, like cut up all the veggies. Tonight we're doing like Mediterranean bowls, so I pickled some onions, and again, I've cut up like the tomatoes and the cucumber and all of that. We're gonna do a Thai basil beef tomorrow night. I've already cut up the red pepper. So I get a lot of that done in advance. It does take a while, but then I feel good going into the week knowing that that's all made up. I baked the cookies, got those cooled and packaged and ready to go, and then our typical routine of like, let's watch an episode of Gilmore Girls and watch an episode of Arrested Development and then go to bed. So it was a good weekend, like nothing super out of the ordinary or exciting, but it was a good weekend. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, it is a new month. Today is March 2nd. And I have decided that this year, I've done this previously, but I want to set a goal for each month, just because it kind of keeps me on track and it gets me always thinking about ways to improve my life, like little things that I can do that either I did previously and stopped doing that I need to like get into again, or just something new that I want to try. So for January, my goal was to get at least 6 hours of sleep, 5 nights a week, I think is what I set it at. And thankfully, since then, I've been pretty much sticking with that. I will say I've gotten off track just a little bit. I should probably reel it in. I've had some nights where I'm staying up a little bit later than I should, but it at least changed my mindset in terms of my nightly routine and when I need to go to bed. February, I never shared what my goal was, but my goal was to start junk journaling. And thankfully, just in the nick of time, I did that this weekend. Was it February 28th, the last day of the month? Yes. But I did start my junk journal, so goal achieved. Now for March, I've decided to make my goal, and I should probably get more specific with this because I know with goals you're supposed to be specific so you know when it's been achieved. But the overarching goal for the month is to reconnect, because again, that's my word for the year, reconnect with, I don't want to say nature, but like being outside. I feel like, especially now that the weather's getting nice, I want to spend more time outside, and I have been very like interior. I've been very indoors lately, and maybe it's because it had been kind of cold for a while, but I want to get outside more, go for more walks outside. I want to spend more time outside just like reading, soaking in the vitamin D, maybe eating dinner outside a little bit more. Speaking of reading, when Billy and I were doing our parallel hobbying on Saturday night, I finished my junk journal pages and he was still working on the Legos, so then I sat at the table and just read. I'm working through Kitchen Confidential by Anthony Bourdain. Love that book, but I spent some time outside reading yesterday, Sunday, as well. And so I'm already kind of kicking off my goal to a good start, but I need to find a way to kind of incorporate more like outdoor walks and whatnot. But that's what we're looking at on like a personal level for the month ahead. Now, within the realm of my job and teaching, March is a crazy month because we have spring break kind of right in the middle. So we have school this full week, we have school all of next week, and then we have a week off for spring break. And that's when Billy and I will be traveling to Tokyo. I'm so excited. But I think next weekend I'm gonna take you along with me for like a weekend in the life vlog and show kind of how I'm getting ready for that trip, because since I am teaching that next week and then Friday night, we literally are going straight to the airport. I need to make sure that by next weekend, I'm pretty much packed and ready to go. So I'll take you along with me for that. But in terms of like, as a teacher, things that I do for the new month, one thing is switching over my slide, like my morning slide. It's not a big change, but let me quickly show you that. Okay, so whenever it is a new month, I put a new little symbol or something, some kind of animation to represent that month. And I just find those directly through Google Slides. When you insert an image, you can insert it from the web. And I usually choose like the sticker option because it gives you a transparent background. And I keep that up there all month. Typically, most days, I will look at the national days and I share whatever it is with my students. They always look forward to seeing what it is. Today is National Pig Day. So again, I inserted just some stickers on the slide. But then going into our actual like morning meeting slide, for March, for the next 2 weeks leading into spring break, I am starting my Golden Egg-erson. We'll talk about that in just a second. So I have that on there. And then I also will list out like what's coming up. So next week, here are events and things happening, and that comes directly from my calendar. So I have a calendar set up on my whiteboard, and when it's the start of a new month, I reset it. I actually had some of my students reset it for me on Friday, and I love that I could just give them the sticky notes. I was like, hey, you know, on this day, put happy birthday so-and-so, or on this day we have makerspace, write that up there. And I had them do it. Again, I had to let go of my perfectionism because usually I write the sticky notes and I have a very like precise way of doing it, but they volunteered and it made my life easier, so why not? Now, as I mentioned, I am starting the Golden Egg-erson today, and this is a behavior management strategy that I use leading into spring break just to kind of add some novelty. It's a twist on the Golden Egg-erson, which I've been doing since the start of the school year. It's a weekly award that one student passes on to the next. But leading into spring break, it becomes the Golden Egg-erson, and it gets passed on every single day. So today I am telling my students about it. They've known that something different was coming. Like, we did not do the Golden Egg-erson Awards on Friday. They knew that we were gonna start something new. They just don't know what it is. So today I'm gonna go through and explain the Golden Egg-erson. So each day when they come in, it will be on a student's desk who has earned it from the previous day. So today I am looking for who I will award the Golden Egg-erson to tomorrow. Inside of this golden egg, this gets reused. They don't get to keep this, but they do get to keep everything inside. So we have a little carrot highlighter, adorable, a little carrot eraser. Both of these I got at HEB, which is our local grocery store chain here in Texas. I wanted to include things that were not necessarily candy that they could actually use. But I do love a sweet treat. So there is this little Peeps lollipop ring. So it's like a ring pop, but it's a little Peep character. And then they have a small golden egg. They do get to keep this one. And inside are some robin's eggs, which are kind of like malted milk ball candies, like a Whopper or a Malteser. But I remember last year, my students didn't know what robin's eggs were, and they were one of my favorite candies as a kid. I looked forward to them every year. So it's just kind of become a tradition, and it, you know, fits the theme. So they will get to keep everything inside. And today, when I tell them about the award, I'm gonna go through and show them, like, here all is what you get. And then I do this for both classes, so it will be a total of 18 students, 9 from my morning class, 9 from the afternoon class, and I already have all of the supplies in this bag, so all I have to do is like reset the egg each time. But that is starting today, and that will run us through spring break. Then when we come back, that last week of March, we'll go back to the Golden Egg-erson. Now, I do not change up my behavior management every month. No. I keep the Golden Egg-erson all year with the exception of this. It's just a way to kind of keep things interesting during a time of the year where it's a lot of, you know, preparing for tests, full weeks, like we don't have as many days off leading into spring break. It's 3 weeks in a row where we're going every single day, and it just kind of adds, as I mentioned, novelty. But what I will say is whenever it is a new month, I like to just spend some time reflecting on what worked well the previous month and what do I need to do more of. So for example, looking back at the month of February within math, I felt like we were very much in crunch mode trying to like get through curriculum in order to prepare for STAR. And honestly, that's going to continue for the next couple of weeks until we take STAR on April 21st. I talked about this in my previous video. I've actually scoped out our entire plan from now until then, and it's gonna be a lot of condensing. You can go back and watch that video if you're curious. But with that, I wanna make sure that I'm still incorporating things that I know my students will enjoy. And so some examples of that would be adding in little Kahoots and Bookets as review, especially we just started decimals. So it's like, hey, a quick review of converting a decimal to a fraction and a fraction to a decimal with tenths. Today we are starting hundredths. So like that would be an easy review that I can throw in this morning. Also things like the little games that I play with them where they are doing problems in their Learn book, which is like just practice pages, essentially like worksheets. But rather than them just doing those, because that's kind of boring, I find ways to make it more interesting. So for example, sometimes I have them roll a die, and if it's an even number, they get to add a point to their score. If it's an odd number, they have to subtract a point from their score. I've also done a deck of cards where each problem that they do, they have to flip over the card, and that's a number of points that they get. So it's just like luck of the draw. as I'm saying this, I'm realizing, because it is spring, well, I'm not gonna do it right now, but I need to go into my closet and get out the little peep that I throw around, like leading into spring break again, just for some novelty. I've been using my yarn ball, which students love, but I can do like pass the peep. Maybe we'll do that for next week, just so that it's like fresh and new for that final week leading into spring break. But today we are not having social studies because we have a survey that we have to administer, and we have the next 2 weeks to get it done. But I'm very much the type of person that I'm like, all right, I wanna knock it out like first thing. So that will be social studies today, and then science, we're just continuing on with the water cycle. I shared in my last vlog about the investigation that we did, and we have our little water cycle in a bag that's hung up on the window. But today we're just taking notes in the textbook. So pretty standard. All that being said, I need to just kind of get myself set up for the day, make sure I have all of my copies and go over emails and whatnot, and then we'll chat later on at the end of the day. One thing I had on my to-do list today, because we started our new math unit on decimals, was to fill in the math word wall for what we have learned thus far. So just some definitions and examples. The decimal point separates the whole number and the fractional part, which is the part less than 1. I have an example of a decimal number. I wrote it out in word form. We've talked about expanded notation. I wrote out a place value chart showing the position of the tenths and hundredths, wrote it out in word form, and then for tenths, I wrote it as a decimal as well as a fraction, because we've been connecting them a lot. I talked about the value, so 1 whole has 10 tenths, drew an example with an area model, and then today we went over hundredths. So 1/10 has 10 hundredths, and 1 whole has 100 hundredths. All right, Monday is complete. And I was telling my team teacher at lunch, I said, hey, one more Monday until spring break. Spring treats were a hit. We had a good spread of like some savory things, some sweet things. All of my cookies were basically gone by lunchtime, so I'll consider that a success. And now this tray is gonna go back in the garage until next spring when we do spring birthdays again, and I take it out, wash it, and reuse it. This has been one of the best $1.25s I have spent. Also, at the end of the day, first I had students help pass out Tuesday folders because I got those stuffed during my planning time. So those are already put out at student desks. I also took down my little Valentine's Day banner that I had by my board up there, so I need to put that away in the closet. And I got out my spring stickers. I packed away the Valentine stickers, and then these ones are like kind of some holographic flowers, but they're very pretty. And I grade math homework as it comes in throughout the week. So as I started grading that, I got the stickers out. I need to decide on my Golden Egg-erson for tomorrow for both the morning and afternoon, but I did go ahead and sign all of the certificates. Okay, sign is not the right word. I wrote my name and I dated. So I have 2 for each day, 1 for the morning class, 1 for the afternoon. And like, as you can see, I've done them all the way through the end. So those are ready to go other than putting the student names on them. And this egg is already stuffed, but I'm gonna get out the treats for the afternoon class so that when we're getting ready for lunch, I can quickly restuff it and put it out at their desk. It was a good day overall. I was able to get a little bit more planning done for preparation for the Math Star. Mostly I was focused on our brain dump that we do leading into STAR. I teach my students like a 7-step brain dump so that as soon as the test starts, they do the brain dump on their paper and it becomes kind of a collage, if you will, of information that they can reference during the test. And so for the 2 weeks leading up to STAR, when we're like reviewing, we practice that brain dump. And I put together some slides. I might have to do an entire like video dedicated to that, but I feel accomplished. I feel good. I probably don't look good, however, because I have felt like I had something stuck in my eye since I woke up this morning, this eye. Although I probably don't need to tell you which one because this eye has no makeup left because all day I've just been rubbing it and I've looked in the mirror, I can't find an eyelash or anything. And I keep trying to like get my eye, like it'll tear up and it's just not flushing out whatever it is. So I'm hoping I go to bed tonight and wake up tomorrow and it's just back to normal. But otherwise, it's been a good day. If you enjoyed hanging out with me today, give the video a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. I think my next vlog will be a weekend vlog where I'm prepping for spring break. So not necessarily teaching related, but if you need a little escape, if you will, especially if you don't have spring break, this early, if yours is like in April, you can come hang out with me over the weekend and live vicariously as I get ready for our spring break. But as always, thank you for watching. I love you so much. Don't forget to put your positive pants on, and I will catch you in the next one.